One of the most unresolved mystery of human life is mind. Pujya Sri Narayan Bhai's speeches and discourses gives an in-depth understanding of magical mind, which guides spiritual pathfinders to reach supreme source of all divine energy. This book is available in published form as well. Considering the latest technological revolution, we at Sri Swaminarayan Divine Mission are happy to publish this audio version for the omni benefit of mankind. We kind-heartedly pray in the lotus feet of Supreme Lord, Sri Swaminarayan, the great Anadi Mukta, Abjibapa Shri, the great Sadgurus, and Anadi Mukta Raj Sri Narayan Bhai, to shower the choicest blessings on all. It is worth mentioning that we shall be celebrating 100 years of divine incarnation of Anadi Muktaraj, Param Pujya Sri Narayan Bhai Giga Bhai Thakkar. This special occasion with the blessings of Lord Swaminarayan shall be celebrated in a grandeur and joyous atmosphere on the 16th February 2022, Wednesday, Samvat 2078, Mahasud Poonam. On this divine occasion, the celebration shall be witnessed from the 16th February 2021 to 16th February 2022 in various forms. At the end of the year, as part of the grand celebration full of divinity, a Satsang Brahma Yagna shall be performed. This being the 100th centenary year, we are extremely happy to present Pilgrimage to Mind. Camp 1. Awareness. Gurudev, what is the first precondition in the pursuit of religion? One day, in the beautiful evening, an aspirant asked to his master, Reverend Guru Varya Narayan Bhai Thakkar. The great master calmly replied, "Of course, healthy body. Shariram khalu dharma sadvanam." And to keep the body healthy. Before his question was completed, the mentor retorted, "To keep the body healthy, it is essential to have a healthy mind. As is the mind, so is the body. And as is the body, so is the mind. Actually, body and mind are the either sides of the same coin." After a pause for a few moments, Guruji said, with a brilliant smile, "Now you obviously intend to ask, how can mind remain healthy, isn't it?" The disciple nodded his head with a smile in affirmation. Being a little bit serious, Guruji spoke. As a matter of fact, to achieve that goal, one has to know what is mind. This can be achieved only by keeping awake. Wakefulness means to live with awareness. The same is referred as Sakshi Bhav, the sense of witness, in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. What Bhagwan Swaminarayan refers to as being oneself at the entrance of awareness, mentioned in Vachanamrit, is made in this context. By keeping yourself aware, learn to observe the mind. Never tag it with your likes or dislikes. Keep on observing the mind neutrally, without intermingling yourself with the vagaries of mind. If you keep on observing the egocentrism of mind with awareness, then the mind will become your friend and will help you with ease in your spiritual practices. This, the most remarkable fact, is to be taken to the bosom of our hearts. It is well understood by all the experiences that the body is in total control of mind in all respects. The body usually does not get into serious illness unless and until it is confronted with external difficulties or badly affected by an accident or fall prey to circumstantial serious infection. Many a time it is observed that persons with strong willpower do not experience any contamination from outside. Feeble mind fetches all types of ailments. The feebleness of mind destroys even the immunity of our body to a large extent. Mind has a special tendency to give reactions. In the morning, what do you do after leaving your bed? You usually stretch the body or just yawn. It is nothing but merely the natural reaction of mind. While talking with someone, a fly sits on your nose. Automatically, your hand will remove it. This is also a mind's reaction. Sometimes when a person whom you dislike the most meets you on your way and starts talking in sugar-coated manner, our mind immediately thinks in reaction on the basis of bitter experiences of the past. As this man is a great rogue, how cunningly he had cheated me. Surely he must have some task to be fulfilled by me. That is why he speaks so sweetly. Thus our mind gives reactions of the present incidents on the basis of past experience. Our life is thus full of mind's reactions. When mind stops reacting, whatever is evident is truth. Reactions of mind do not permit us to realize the things in their real forms. By dint of reactions, mind creates the transparent curtains of thoughts between every events or objects or persons. Consequently, we comprehend or understand any person or object or event in accordance with our prejudices or past experiences. As a result, we always remain deprived of the reality. In Ikshvanku dynasty, there lived a king named Janshruti. Once he asked a question to his master, Raikava. O godly saint, why does a man reap the fruits of his deeds in form of sin or virtue, even after dedicating his sole being to the Almighty? In reply, the master hit the king's head with a nearby stone. When the king, being enraged, ordered to arrest the master and punish him, the master said, O king, if you have dedicated everything belonging to you to God, you must realize that the hitting of stone has also happened by God's will. So please try to understand that when the body is dedicated to God, never mind whether the body being hit by stone or spears. But no, you forgot the truth and your mind reacted with rage. O king, you are still under the effect of mental reactions, so you are entitled to accrue the results of every sin and virtue. Even if every event owes its existence to circumstance, fortune, or God, you become part and parcel in that outcome through your reactions. Finally, the master sermonizes the king, Janshruti, saying, O king, the supreme being by dint of whose power it exists, sin, virtue, happiness, sorrow, creation, destruction, resides in you and in entire universe concomitantly. No need to add and subtract sin, virtue, and happiness, misery to achieve Him. He already exists within you. The mind, surrounded by Him by virtue of His power, which you call your own out of egoism, keeps you occupied through strange reactions between you and the Supreme Being. Be liberated from mind's reactions and observe the life. Doing thus, O king, you will be able to realize the God despite living in mundane life. If you observe every activity of each sense with full awareness, mind's habit of giving reactions is lost. The mind needs a seat to rest peacefully. Whenever the mind gets engrossed in any object or person, it gets temporary peace. But the peace experienced in worldly objects or mundane person is very momentary. Hence, if you want to give eternal peace to the mind, it should be allowed to have a shelter at the feet of Sri Hari, the God Almighty. The peace and the bliss experienced by getting engrossed in the divine form of God would be everlasting and supernatural. Canto 2. What is mind? Brooding over deeply, it is realized that our physical body is nothing but the solidified form of our mind. The constructive form of mind means action, and the volatile form of mind is called Pran, the vital force. Swami Vivekananda also substantiates this statement in Raj Yoga by saying, this body is merely the outer sheathing of the mind. Both are not different entities at all. Just like kalu fish and its shell, mind is covered by the body. Both are like the either sides of the same coin. The internal substance of the kalu fish acquires inert elements from outside and forms the shell. In the same manner, the inner micro-forces, whom we call mind, take material matter from physical world and form the shell of this gross body. Mind gives momentum to air or vayu in our physical body by its own vital force. It also keeps the lungs active, opens and closes the eyelids, digests the food, circulates the blood, semen, sweat, pitta, kapha, etc., are all watery exposures of mind only. When mind experiences fear, sweat is the resultant outcome. When mind feels ecstasy, the body produces enzymes. When mind experiences outburst of sexual emotions, body produces semen or ovum. At the emotion of anger, mind liberates kapha and pitta in anxiety. Thus, all the expositions of our body are related to our mind. If you perceive consciously, it will be understood that behind every senses and emotional experience, there is the presence of mind. So says Bhagwan Swaminarayan in Vachanamritam, his text of this philosophy. The gross body has 5 fundamental elements, including the earth as constituents, and the subtle body consists of the 5 senses of cognition, 5 senses of action, 5 vital forces, and Antahkarana in all 19. And when the subtle body remains associated with the gross body, all activities are carried on properly, but not otherwise. The ears, the eyes, etc. are the instruments of the senses in the gross body. When the subtle body having the senses associated with them, the objects of pleasure are grasped, but such grasping is not performed by the instrument of the senses alone. As per Saranpur the 14th, many a times we do not have enough perception of scene in front of our eyesight, despite our open eyes, because at the same time our mind is engrossed with another imagination or thought. Activeness of mind in the eyeballs is most essential to see with eyes. Whenever any scene, object, or individual appears in front of us, the sensations of falling its reflections on the retina are carried to the center of vision, situated in the brain, by means of nerves. These sensations are then sent to the mind. Mind represents them in the form of definite instincts before our intelligence. Intelligence bounces its reactions, and the feeling of I springs up. Then after, the mixture of actions and reactions is presented before the soul. When soul experiences this mixture in the form of vision, we call it as visual experience. As this entire incident occurs in moments and by the loss of sense of witness, we experience oneness with our mind. We cannot comprehend the vision originating from the reactive tendency of the mind. In our religious scriptures, soul invested with ignorance is recognized as Jiva, embodied soul. Mind and Jiva are mutual friends. Bhagwan Swaminarayan compares this friendship with that of milk and water. When the mixture of milk and water is boiled, water seeks the bottom of the vessel and saves the milk from sticking the utensil. Similarly, milk overflows the utensil and puts off the fire and saves the burning water. As per Gadhada last, the 6th, whatever matter does not appeal Jiva it never results into resolution of mind. Shriji Maharaj thus establishes oneness of mind and jiva, and quotes in Vachanamritam, as per Gadada Madhya, the 23rd, "Today when we have thought of the form of mind, mind cannot be perceived different from jiva. Mind in itself is the mere ray of jiva, but it is not different from jiva in any aspects. As soul is being expressed only through mind, Shriji Maharaj has named it as the ray of jiva, and by means of that, he has depicted the oneness of mind and jiva. That is why Upanishads opine that worship the mind by considering it as supernatural element, because mind without tendency is totally mingled with soul. There is a splendid shloka in Shvetashvatar Upanishad. Twin beautiful birds are sitting on the same branch of the tree. One of them is enjoying a sweet fruit, and the other, instead of eating the fruit, simply watches it. This is a fantastic metaphor. What are these birds? The bird that is eating the fruit is mind, full of ego, means you, yourself. And the bird watching the eating is your natural soul position. One who recognizes the mind in this perspective becomes natural, and he is the only person who can realize the God. Canto 3. Origin of Mind. Bhagwan Ramchandra has posed a heart-rendering question to his master, Maharshi Vashishta. In the text of Sri Yoga Vashishta Maharamayana, Sri Ram asks, "O great Guru, what is the root cause for the creation of this physical body? And Lord, kindly explain also the very reason for the cause of the birth of this body organism." The great sage Vashishta says, "Ram, the seed of this material body, that is the fundamental cause of its origin, is mind. Dear son, it is obvious for you to doubt this fact, that how can mind be the generating cause of body? But it is futile to doubt, because it is our common experience that in the state of dream, the body appears to be coming up from our mind. O Ram, just as pots, pans, and pails, etc., earthen objects are the wide range of earth itself. In the same fashion, whatever this greatly pompous world is seen, is the incarnation of mind only. O son, now listen to the cause of mind. As an outcome of the accumulated deeds of births together, the sheath of ignorant and strong obsessions for earthly objects cling to the soul, which is called causal body. This causal body is full of lust, ignorance, and illusion. That is why it is called Maya or Prakriti. At the time of attaining body by jiva, mind is born by the activation of vasana, that is strong and deep-rooted desires, and inclinations and vibration of prana, that is vital force. force. O Ram, firstly the vibration of prana, and secondly, the strong obsession for earthly objects. Both are the root causes of the origin of mind. Out of both, if one diminishes, another also follows the same. Mind cannot be born only by the vibration of prana, or only by vasana, that is strong and deep-rooted desires. Prana is set in motion through vasana, and vasana is created and stimulated into activity by prana spanda, means vibration of prana. Like oil in sesame, vibration of prana resides in vasana, and vasana resides in the vibration of prana. Just as seedling is the outcome of seed, and seed is the outcome of seedling, the cycle of the generation of mind from the vibration of prana and vasana and vice versa is going on. If we want to understand this whole phenomenon in nutshell, it can be said that the rising of vasana puts the soul in the state of chaos and awakens the vibrations of prana. Consequently, the mind is born, like the birth of a child. That is why, so says Mundak Upanishad, Etas samajayate pranoho manaha sarvendriyani cha, means mind springs up along with prana from the soul element and spreads up in the whole body organism. If we try to excavate the history of the origin of mind, its roots lead us to the history of the origin of the universe. Bhagwan Swaminarayan has clearly mentioned in this regards in the text of Vachanamritam, as per Gadada Madhya the 12th. According to it, when God the Almighty casts His inspiring glance at Mool Akshara, second form of immutable cosmic power, for the creation of the universe, Mool Akshara motivates Mool Purusha, the divine progenitor, by making firm resolution for the creation of universe. So Mool Purusha joins into divine mating with Mool Prakriti in the form of Maha Maya. As a result, Prakriti, the creation, gives the birth to infinite forms of Pradhana, lower Prakriti, and Purusha. Then after, by each couple of Pradhan Purusha, Mat-tattva or cosmic intelligence and Chitta are created. The whole cosmos exists in subtle form, in Mahat-tattva. Mahat-tattva by itself is changeless, luminous, clear, pure, consisting of Sattva Guna, and quiet. From Mahat-tattva, it is created Ahamkar, having 3 traits. From Sattvic Ahamkar, the mind and the senses are created. From Rajas Ahamkar, the 10 senses, Buddhi and Pran, are created. And from Tamas Ahamkar, the fundamental elements and the 5 Tanmatra, quintessence, are created. Mind, which is created from Sattvic Ahamkar, is the faculty where all desires, including the desire for woman, etc., originate. The mind decides on the alternatives available, and it controls all the senses. Sankhya Darshan, written by Lord Kapil Muni, also substantiates the above mentioned sequence of the origin of mind. Sankhya Darshan claims that all material object, ranging from intellect to the piece of a stone, are made up from the same material. Whatever difference is found, it is only due to the fineness or solidness of their existence. Subtle state is the cause factor, and physical state is its resultant factor. Our Yoga Shastra is totally established on the basis of Sankhya Darshan. We can comprehend the phenomenon of origin of mind properly by the coordination of Sankhya and Yoga. Our scriptures of Yoga explain that Pran Shakti or vital energy nourishes our body by adopting 5 forms, that is Pran, Vyan, Apan, Saman and Udan. Saman, out of these 5s, dwells in whole body by spreading in each and every cell, and mind is activated only by the help of it. It makes us experience the outer world through our senses by moving in whole body. There is a worth contemplating metaphor in Upanishad. In our body world, our stomach is assumed as a form of an altar or Vedi. It is offered Ahuti, offering of food substance like ghee and rice, usually to the fire of Yagna Kund, to the prana, in the form of deity by offering the food as Samrit, to the fire of stomach, in the form of digestive power. So, according to Vedic ceremony, while eating, 5 prana are fed by uttering respectively, like Pranaya Swaha, Vyanaya Swaha, Apanaya Swaha, Samanaya Swaha, and Udanaya Swaha. It is written in Chandogya Upanishad that prana is satisfied by the food offered in this manner. And when prana is contented, our senses, Antahakarana and soul, are also satisfied. The meaning of prana, which is mentioned here, is very extensive. Prana is not merely a breathing at all, but the inherent energy that gives the motion to our respiration is called prana. There is a very close relationship between prana and mind. When prana moves, mind begins thinking, and when mind makes resolution, broods over, and thus becomes active, prana expands. The excess treasure of prana is inherent in brain and nerve centers. If we can control prana, all the energies in the world can be controlled automatically. Whatever the power of vital force existing in the world is connected with the streams of our prana through our breathing. If we can coordinate the resolution with our breathing process, the infinite vital force of the whole universe can be ours. Prana is manifested in various forms like velocity, force of gravitation, power of electricity, etc. According to Ashtanga Yoga, mind is controlled by the inhibition of prana through pranayama. But Bhagwan Swaminarayan explains how the mind is controlled by meditation in Vachana Amritam, by controlling the pranas through pranayama, whereby the chit is also controlled, and by controlling the chit, whereby the pranas are also controlled. When is controlled over the chit achieved? It is achieved when one's vrittis are detached from everything else and focused only on God. However, these vrittis can be focused on God only when desires for everything else overcome, and only a singular desire for the form of God remains. Thus, pranas are also controlled by getting control over chit. Therefore, a devotee whose chit's vritti becomes focused on the form of God masters Ashtanga Yoga without even attempting to master it. If we place the detailed discussion about the originating of mind in nutshell, we can say that mind is the outcome of the combination of vasana in the forms of accumulated deeds of births together, and prana, the vital bioenergy. It is made of very subtle etheric elements. In this regard, our sages have said in a poetic style, mind is born from the assimilation of Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha means soul, and Prakriti means Maya or illusion, ignorance, innate desires. The body of mind is created from the very subtle extent of Prakriti, and the energy of mind is originated from the very subtle extent of Purusha. Basis of mind. There is a nice story narrated in Chandogya Upanishad. When Shwetketu, the son of the great Rishi Uddalak, attains the age of 12, he is sent to the hermitage of the master for acquisition of knowledge. After a span of 12 years, he returns to his father. He has been well versed in all texts, including Vedas. Being an expert in Vedas, Shwetketu becomes proud. He becomes arrogant because of this vain pride. He comes to his father and says, "O father, I am quite conversant with all the Vedas. I would recall whatever you ask for." The learned Uddalak at once realizes that the son has not procured perfection in studies. He is imperfect, so he boasts of his so-called knowledge. I must clear up whatever a pinch of misunderstanding he has. The great Rishi said to him, "My son, please avoid eating any food for 15 days. If you feel thirsty, you can take water. Come to me after 15 days. At that time, I will ask you about Vedas." Chhatedi has agreed to this. Chhatedi started fasting. One day, second day, thus passed a week. Now he felt bodily weakness. His mind became dull and lethargic. Because of empty stomach, he could not even take sound sleep. At night, his memory grew faint and feeble. His thought process was going disappeared. The energy of his mind was decreasing day by day, like the moon in the dark. Second half of the month. On the 16th day, he approached his father and said, "Sir, may I recite?" The great Rishi, looking into his son's eyes, said, "Dear son, please quote the stanza from Rig, Yajur, and some Veda." Chhatedi began to awaken his memory and recall. But alas, he could not do so. He made meticulous efforts, but all were in vain. His pride melted like snow. His eyes were filled with the tears of repentance. He burst out weeping, placing his head on the lap of his father, and cried, "Oh Lord, I can't remember anything. What happens to my knowledge?" The eyes of the great Rishi were filled with tears of joy. Uddalak explained to his son, "O Saumya, without food, the energy of mind gets decreased up to nil due to fasting. O son, you must understand the fact that if a great fire is extinguished, and out of its ashes, even one of the spark is left off, it cannot burn big objects. In the same manner, your memory has been decreased up to negligible due to fasting. That is the reason why you cannot recall difficult things, like the stanza of Vedas. Dear son, now first of all, please take your food, and then you will comprehend my advice." Chhatedi breaks his fast at the end of 16 days. He becomes cheerful as soon as food reaches his stomach. After lunch, he responds to every question that his father asks him. Chhatedi is also astonished. Uddalak explains to him, "Dear son, as I told you just now, when great fire is put out, and yet the remaining spark blazes the straw thrown on it, and ultimately converts into big fire. In the same way, the energy of your mind got ablaze when the arrear of the 16th part was provided with the food. Consequently, you can memorize the stanza of Vedas. O Saumya, mind is based on the food, whatever we eat. Annamayam hi manaha. Pausing a little, the great Rishi said, after taking the meals, the food digested by the fire of stomach is divided into 3 parts. Out of that, the third crude separated part enters the intestine in the form of waste material. The medium part goes forward converted by various secretions and finally turns into flesh. The first finest part moves upwards and by reaching the heart through the finest nerve called ether ultimately converts into mind. It is easily understood from this narration that mind is made up of food. That is why there is a proverb, as is the food, so is the mind. Brooding over this, it is perfectly understood that the subtle effect of the input, that is food, of our sense organs is definitely visible on our mind. It is crucial whatever food we consume has been prepared by what kind of persons, from which quality of raw material, and with how much hygienically it is cooked. How many and what type of individuals have noticed that food visually has a great bearing on mind. That is why whatever we eat is first offered to God, and then only that food should be utilized as His grace in the form of prasad. Thus we can avoid the possible negative effects on our food. Swami Vivekananda writes in Raj Yoga, certain rules are inevitable while taking food. We should take the food what turns our mind in its purest form. You can realize this fact when you visit the zoo. In spite of being a huge animal, elephant is very calm and cool for being pure vegetarian, whereas the tiger and lion, being non-vegetarian, are cruel and restless by nature. However, 2 individuals take their meals together at the same time. The effect on both persons' minds is quite different, because the circumstances and the sentimental condition at the time of meal play a great role. Mirabai gulped the poison sent by Rana and considered it to be the God-sent nectar. As a result, the poison turned out to be life-conserving nectar. Once upon a time, Lord Buddha was resting under a tree in Lumbivan. A reputed merchant went to have his darshan, a divine look. He asked a question, "O Lord, what is truth?" Lord Buddha replied cheerfully, "Only a mind is Sat, Chit and Anand, if you can understand it properly." Lord Buddha stressed the latter portion of his statement, if you can understand it properly. If we can have proper perception of mind, the experience of our soul in the form of perennial rapture beyond mind becomes natural. 5. Types of mind. As such, the mind is only one, but it is experienced in 2 ways. One is conscious mind, which is also called outer mind or extrovert mind, and the other is unconscious mind, which is called inner mind or introvert mind too. Very small portion of our consciousness is manifested in our conscious mind. It is full of various types of desires. When controversy arises in these desires, our mind becomes disturbed, and as a result, we experience fatigue in our body. Through meditation, concentration is achieved first, and then comes deep concentration. In concentrated state, the opposition of thoughts is demolished. Hence, a wastage of lots of energy is saved. Thus, concentration protects lots of energy, whereas in complete concentration, energy gets upstored. That is why the energy is fully stored up in samadhi. The mind, spread out in each and every cells of our physical body, is our subconscious mind. It remains active all the while, reconstructs and protects our body in stones, vegetation, insects, birds, and human beings. The unconscious mind is equally pervaded and active in animals, birds, and vegetation. Conscious mind is dormant, so unconscious mind gets full freedom, and that is why stone's age and structure remains as it is for a long time. In vegetation, as the proportion of conscious mind being less, its reconstruction and preservation process becomes very powerful. As a result, the banyan trees, peepal tree, and other trees exist for decades. Among birds and animals, insects and small creatures, diseases are much less compared to human beings. The cause thereof is that their unconscious mind is stronger than the conscious mind. Hence, the reconstruction and preservation process of their body structure is natural and obvious. World-renowned psychologist Dr. Sigmund Freud says, "In our day-to-day life, many incidents are happening, and it apparently seems that we are forgetting them. But in fact, nothing can be forgotten. Everything is being stored in our subconscious mind. This suppressed memory itself leads us. We call it intuition. When we live against our intuition or self-motivation, deformity occurs in our mind. This absurd condition is expressed in the form of rage or anger or criticism. But when such things happen again and again, and that deformity cannot show its ugly face, it damages our unconscious mind. Consequently, a sort of imbalance occurs in the unconscious mind, which by passing of time takes the form of bodily diseases. Dr. Sigmund Freud classified mind into 3 categories: ID, ego, and superego. In ID, primitive types of instincts of our forefathers are stored. Whatever instinctive urges and activities were concentrated around food, sleep, fear, and sexuality as life lived by primitive men are preserved in ID. On the innate urge of ego, our entire attitude depends, whereas superego is firmly founded by our sanskars and beliefs. On account of beliefs, quarrels and wars have been fought through centuries in this world between nations, communities, religions, castes, and even among persons too. A man is prepared to give up everything, but he is not ready to leave his own beliefs because they are deep rooted in his superego. When awakened, these instincts remain unexpressed due to the bondage of sanskars. But in sleep, they try to be expressed by dreams. As all the instincts would like to be expressed at a time, they come out in deformed manner. Moreover, ID, ego, and superego are expressed together. So dreams are not coordinated. If we try to narrate our dreams seen during whole night, hardly 5 to 6 lines could be written. The reason is, most of our dreams are futile and complicated. Smaller or bigger diseases affecting our bodies are not casual, but they are causal. Frequent obstruction in the function of our subconscious mind is the root cause of illness. There was a saintly gentleman named Shri Shri Thakur Anukul Chandra in Bengal. One early morning, a devotee named Durganath approached him and said, "O Thakur, I have been suffering from severe dysentery for months together. In spite of taking regular doses of medicines, it is not cured at all. So please have mercy and do some favor to me." Sri Thakur replied, "Oh, is that so? Okay. Now, you will be absolutely all right within no time, without any medicines. By the grace of God, please take midday meals over here. And then, and only then, you can go to your home." Sri Thakur got new coarse rice and dal of val, beans cooked for him. Durganath was caught in 2 mines. At lunchtime, Sri Thakur at once made out his mental sentiments. So he told, "My dear brother, don't be afraid of anything. So please start eating. And do eat until you are satisfied." Durganath immediately started eating his favorite meal. When he was fully saturated, Thakur advised him to go to bed and take rest. After a long nap, when Durganath awoke, he was quite fine. When he could not find any symptoms of dysentery, he asked Sri Thakur, "O Lord, how has this disease been cured? In spite of taking adverse foodstuff." "Sir, the cause-effect relationship cannot be found at all in this case." Sri Thakur explained him, "When you approached me, I had read your subconscious mind and came to know that before some time you had an intense desire to eat your favorite dish of coarse rice and wal. But due to some unavoidable circumstances, you could not fulfill your craving. As that strong desire was suppressed in your subconscious mind, there was a deformity in the muscles of your intestine. This pain had been emerged from that mental reason. So, however, this food seems to be irrelevant. Your disease and pain could be cured only by the fulfillment of your desire. Thus, there is a great impact of our mind set on our health. That is the reason why the psychologists do not rely on medicines, but resort to sympathy, warmth, and compassion. They bring out the suppressed instinctive urges and cure the diseases. Dr. Freud has opined for the method of catharsis. If a person suffers from pain, stress, anxiety, etc., bring them out. At a solitary place, sit in a pleasant atmosphere. Note down thoughts springing up in your mind on the piece of paper and write the complaints against things that you dislike the most. Read that paper again and again and make addition to the list. One day, after reading them frequently, tear the paper. Doing this act repeatedly, mind will be fresh. As an alternative to this catharsis method of Dr. Freud, the best remedies are prayers and recitation. Negative sentiments are uprooted during prayers, and mind is cleansed on account of reciting the name of God. By means of continuous recitation of God's name, the instincts of faith towards God start playing in the subconscious as well as conscious mind, as a result of which the instincts of attachment are repressed and gradually fed up. Of course, faith plays a vital role in it. If recitation is practiced for a longer time with utmost faith and patience, mind is certainly transformed into its natural, pious form. The goal, which is targeted by recitation, can also be achieved through meditation. Mind becomes thoughtless in meditation, and thoughtless mind gradually cleans off lock, stock, and barrel, the internal whirling waves of instincts. Being clean and pure, mind becomes calm and cool. When mind is quiet, we can witness and visualize what our true form is. Camp 6. Nature of Mind. It is our common experience that our mind does not maintain one position forever. Sometimes good thoughts upsurge. Sometimes bad ideas crop up. Sometimes mind becomes very active and agile. Sometimes it becomes passive and dull. The reason for this is mind's three traits nature. Our mind is made up of three qualities like Sattva Gun, Rajo Gun, and Tamo Gun. Sattva Gun is the virtue of balancing element that is originating sanctity, knowledge and joy. Rajogun is a dynamic element that gives rise to activity, desires and shrewdness. Tamogun is the stagnant element that is the cause of laziness, gloominess and vague impressions. It fetches mind to the lowest surface. In that condition, no thought would occur. Rajogun makes the mind unstable by distorting it, while Sattva Gun takes our mind to the higher direction. In that condition, mind is calm, quiet and stable. All the waves of the lake of mind have subsided, and its water has become clear. That state of mind is not the state of inactivity, but on the contrary, it is in a state of delivering higher performance of the mind. To maintain peaceful condition of mind is the biggest display of energy. To become smart and shrewd is an extremely easy job. If you let the rein of the horse loose, it will take you wherever it intends to go. But the man who can hold the rein and control the running horse is the mighty. Calm-minded person is the one who has control over his mind waves. Activeness is the exhibition of energy of lower category, while alertness is the display of higher energy. The constitution of individual mind is decided on the extent of combination and operation of these three qualities. It is the only reason for the varieties of human nature and unsteadiness of his mind. Bhagwan Sri Swaminarayan teaches in his extinct style regarding the nature of mind. In the text of Vachanamritam, as per Gadara Madhya 23rd, he is to be understood godly saint whose mind does not get distracted of seeing vulgar objects of pleasure and does not get attracted looking at pleasing things, and thus his mind is remaining unaffected in both the situations. And it is not so easy to develop such a state of mind. The nature of mind is such as a child who tries to catch a snake, fire, and bear or naked sword. If we stop him to do so, he would be restless. And if we allow him, he would be extremely unhappy. Similarly, the mind gets away from the spiritual path if allowed to get attracted to seductive objects, and becomes miserable if it is denied such transient joy. So whose mind is attached to God and not affected by objects of worldly pleasure is the only person who should be known as saint. Swami Vivekananda says in his Raj Yoga, the first sign of anybody's becoming religious is that he starts feeling cheerfulness. A pure virtuous person becomes joyful and finds happiness everywhere. When joy emerges from within, we must know that a man is on the way to progress. In the pursuit of yoga, mind usually becomes active on different levels of consciousness. On conscious level, mind's every activity is generally mingled with egoism. But on unconscious plane, ego is not existing. Mind can still work on one more plane higher than these two. On that plane, mind can go higher than its relative consciousness. Just as unconscious level is below the conscious one, there is also one plane above this relative conscious level. It is called superconscious plane. There is no ego on this plane too. Yet, there is a vast difference between unconscious and superconscious plane. Mind is on unconscious plane in the state of deep sleep, susupti, whereas it is on superconscious plane in the state of samadhi. Mind is calm and free from ego on both the planes. But in the state of deep sleep, there is ignorance, darkness, and gloominess, whereas the state of samadhi is full of knowledge, light, and virtuous enjoyment. Mind is in its purest form on superconscious plane. Camp 7. Various states of mind. Mind illuminates itself in 5 various states. You must have experienced that sometimes when mind becomes highly impatient or transient, mind, as a result of body, feels momentary feelings of joy and sorrow. This is mind's autism state or kshipta avastha. In this state, mind is shattered and scattered in all directions. The activity of mind makes us experience only the feelings of happiness and sorrow. This state is still better. Otherwise, the stupefaction state or mood avastha of mind is the root cause of the terrorism spread throughout the world. At present, insane state means inertia in which the attitude of mind is to harm the others. Spiritual aspirant, when starts his meditation, his mind is in its restless state or vyagra. In this state of mind, it tries to concentrate. Such restless state is very natural for higher souls, whereas Kshipta and mood states indicate the mental conditions of ordinary souls in the concentrated state of mind. Mind tries to be steady in its focused position, and when the climax of concentration is attained, mind becomes amalgamated in samadhi or ecstasy. This is mind's superconscious condition. Generally, our mind is used to dwell in shattered and insane states. We feel dullness in insane state and activeness in that of shattered. By means of practicing yoga and devotion, mind can be made sublime and concentrated. The objective of religious codes and traditions is to get our mind concentrated. Such focused mind, becoming active and dynamic in any field, shines brilliantly. By dint of concentration of mind, a student can prove his brilliance in his studies. A businessman becomes prosperous in his trade. A musician or artist becomes proficient in his field. Without mind's concentration, to achieve success in any field is not only difficult but almost impossible. By practice of concentration and its gradual progress, mind experiences the supreme bliss in the state of samadhi on superconscious plane. By the control of mind, mind's concentration gradually develops. When some yogi or saint brings the scattered and insane state of mind into completely controlled state by his resoluted willpower, an ordinary soul can also enjoy the divine experience of ecstasy. When Lord Swaminarayan initiated the chapter of Samadhi, from highest liberated souls to animals, birds, and ordinary souls, everybody used to enjoy the divine experience of Samadhi equally. However, Bhat lady named Ladki Bai initially frightened a great deal on hearing Pranav Nad in the state of ecstasy. But finally, she became blessed soul and beset in state of Samadhi, having thorough knowledge by Shri Hari. There is an incident happened in the life of Bengal's famous saint, Ram Krishna Paramhans. He had not only mastered superconscious state, but also made other eligible souls experienced the state of Samadhi. Once his nephew, Hridayanath Mukhopadhyay, told Ram Krishna Paramhansa that you usually help many people experience Samadhi. I would also like to experience the divine joy of Samadhi. Paramhansa denied to do so and said, Ridu, please understand, your mind is still not prepared for this experience, so please don't insist for it. But Hriday did not accept it, and due to his wrong insistence, finally, Sri Ramakrishna made him experience Samadhi. But his mind could not tolerate the divine experience of superconscious state, and he lost control over his mind and body for his entire life. Without eligibility of mental state, sometimes meditation or experience of Samadhi, the superconscious state, proves to be harmful. Describing the state of Samadhi, Maharshi Patanjali says in Yoga Sutra, Tada drashtuhu swarupeva sthanam. As soon as the waves of the lake subside, we can see the bottom of the lake. Same is the case of mind. When mind becomes tranquil, we can see our true form. In that state, we remain stable in our own true form, without getting mixed up with the attachments towards work. Can 8. Universal consciousness and mind. The roaring waves of the ocean are part and parcel of the existence of entire ocean. Similarly, the mind of each and every individual of this universe is like a big or a small wave of the ocean of a universal mind. Our mind is the integral part of this vast cosmic mind, just as one wave is attached with another ripple of the ocean. In the same manner, every individual of the world is tagged with each other through his or her own mind. Sun is one, but its reflections are innumerable. In the same manner, we experience the reflection of cosmic mind as our own mind. Mind remains unaffected everywhere. It abandons all the thoughts coming from outside, but intellect stirs the mind by providing stimulus. Frequently, our circumstances, problems, events, surrounding environment all spoil that reflection. Vimala Thakur more explicitly explains, we all are the integral parts of universal mind. We all have the same cosmic mind, and we are joined with one another inseparably by the means of that mind. Despite being existence of the same universal consciousness in all, the ego, as equal to 33% of the mere part of that consciousness present in us, creates depression by arising dual effect of me and mine. under the cover of this egoism, all are one. If this ego fades away, the realization of God is not so far away. In all individuals, the same God exists. We should consider others in the same category. As we are, we must never behave in the manner which we discard for ourselves. Such understanding and resultant good behavior brings us far away from ego problems. 5 codes of practice suggested by our religious scriptures and pious lifestyle, after all, lead us to the cosmic consciousness. As soon as we make the conscious mind thoughtless by relaxing body and mind, we immediately come in contact with cosmic consciousness. Slightly below our conscious mind, a great ocean of cosmic consciousness uniting us with the universe is roaring at night while sleeping. If our consciousness is nearer to that of universe, we can surely peep into the future by means of dreams. The same secret is also lying behind the phenomenon of mental telepathy. American psychologist named Harold Sherman has achieved a great fame by making a serious invention regarding extrasensory perception. In America, on 16 May 1965, Sidney Gerber's plane, having 4 passengers, was lost. When he sent the last message to Washington, he was struggling against a catastrophe in the sky of Ventushy Lake area. At last, when no news reached, Jennifer, the niece of Harold Sherman, requested Sherman to help in investigation of her friend, Sidney. Sherman concentrated his attention on the signature of Sidney and made contact with cosmic consciousness and found out that Sidney's plane had struck against a mountain at the height of 4,500 feet, 40 miles away from the Lake Ventushy, and had crashed. After 4 months, when this mishap passed in the inquiry, the bones of the deceased and remains of the crashed plane were found out from the very spot which Sherman had noted. When Sherman's information proved to be true, America experienced havoc. Americans became more curious to know about the inconceivable energy of mind. People raised many questions. Can our mind become one with the entire atmosphere of the world? Do all the incidents taking place in the world be leaving their permanent imprint in the atmosphere? In this subject, whatever modern research has been done prove many mind-fabricated stories of Puranas to be true. This body of ours means pinned, and this universe, that is Brahmand, both are unitary. Ya pinde sa Brahmande. When our mind establishes oneness with cosmic consciousness, We can observe the whole universe as a ball in the hand, hear it as well as know it simultaneously. Then no part of the world remains unknown, and no incident of the universe remains unacquainted. This achievement was very common for our saints and hermits. Once a young saintly great person asked Swami Vrindavan Das Ji, "Swami, can you see through this wall?" Swamiji very politely replied, "By grace of God the Almighty, I can see not only through this wall, but also throughout the universe. What is happening? What has already happened? And what incident is to take place? Everything that I intend to see is apparent to me. This is obvious for higher liberated souls. When an aspirant practices meditation, worship of God, and recitation for the sake of pleasing God, so many miraculous powers obstruct his way as temptation before acquiring the goal of supreme bliss. Realization of God is only possible when one proceeds further on the way to redemption, neglecting the achievement of miraculous powers completely. Camp 9. Inconceivable power of mind. Mind is the center of humans' extraordinary energy. There is nothing in this world which cannot be achieved by mind. Immense is the power of the mind. Its spread is unlimited, like the sky. In this earthly world, incidents likely to be impossible also have become possible and are becoming feasible by the dint of mind, by the combination of subconscious mind and conscience. Tremendous energy is originated. This extraordinary and miraculous combination of energy can bring a drastic change in any critical, mental, physiological, social, and economic circumstances. In Mahabharata, there is a story. There was a hermit named Dirghatapa. He resolved to perform a yagna in a definite time period. He went into a forest to gather the needed sticks of firewood, flowers, and fruits for his yagna. Unknowingly, he fell into the deep waterless well. It was difficult to come out of that well at once. Before somebody would come to help him to come out of the well, the pre-decided time of yagna approached. So the saint performed the yagna mentally in the well itself, and the deities approved his mentally performed yagna, as a result of which the sage attained the post of a deity. Any efforts done by the means of the mind, in comparison to those done by the physical body, gives fruits quickly and exactly. Hence Lord Swaminarayan has considered the worship of God mentally to be more important than external physical worship. Every person should deeply meditate, sitting alone in a solitary place for some time of the day regularly. Watch the thoughts emerging in the mind without giving any reaction, neutrally. By doing so regularly for longer duration, mind becomes our friend. Not only that, but also all the egoism and ignorance developed in our mind are removed, and reasonless mirth and selfless love spring from the heart. When the consciousness beyond mind is touched through mind, it is experienced to be widespread everywhere in the universe. So says Brahmaji to Maharshi Vasishtha in the text of Yog Vasishtha Maharamayana. A human-bodied soul gets the fruits according to the efforts done by his mental body. The efforts done by only physical body are never fruitful. If mind ever broods over pious linking, all malicious experiments done towards him fail like arrows aimed at a hard rock. Mind can achieve within the moments whatever are aimed perfectly. O saint, even though all the sentiments related to body may perish, the efforts done by mind bears fruits without any hurdles, because effort is the alternate of only mind. Whatever is accepted by mind is always fructified, and what is rejected never takes place. The English people even consider the digit of 13 as unlucky, so all the related matters with 13 prove to be unfortunate for them, whereas the 13th day of the month as per Hindu calendar is considered to be the most auspicious day, which can never be questioned. On Dhanteras, we usually perform the auspicious worship of Goddess Lakshmi. Whatever good or evil happenings take place in our life is the outcome of our mind, so it is needless to fill our mind with such imaginary beliefs or superstitions. We must strengthen our mind always by positive thinking. Our mind has a miraculous power of curing the diseases of our physical body. So says Maharshi Aurobindo, give signals to your energies. They will make you healthy by operating inside your body. It is our commonly shared experience that when someone becomes ill in the house, all the friends and relatives come to see him. All have a common consolation. Don't worry, you will be all right. By hearing such words frequently, the subconscious mind of a sick person gets the strong suggestions automatically for being cured. As a result, he recovers soon. Sometimes, adverse is the consequence. If any friend creates the fear of a dangerous disease in the mind of the patient, he would slip into a serious disease from a very simple problem. In reality, a man is survived only by his mind. In America, a professor in a medical college was explaining to the students by showing culture of cholera. Pupils, this culture contains that much germs that if it is thrown into the water of a dam, 10 lakh people drinking that water would die of the disease. One mischievous student said to the professor, "Sir, you have professed us in medical psychology that our mind keeps us alive. So please drink this culture. If your mind will be firm, you will not be affected." Taking a pause for a moment, the professor drank the culture. Still, he was hale and hearty. In the next day's newspaper, while interviewed, professor said, "It was a challenge to me. I strongly advocate that only the mind kills a man, and it saves it too. So I resolved firmly that even if I swallow this poisonous culture, I will be unaffected. And the result is known to you. Mind's inconceivable power is working in the foundation of prevailing healing treatments like Reiki and pranic healing." Dr. Brunner has done an extensive research in the subject of mind's power. He wants to say, our mind is the physical form of our thinking power. It is made up of molecules named neutron. It does not bear any positive or negative charge. It has no electrical susceptibility. Yet, it is more powerful than electricity. This neutron influences the atmosphere of huge energy every moment. Our every thought or word leaves its unerasable impressions on the surrounding atmosphere. Its speed is more than the speed of light. It revolves around the earth 7 times in a moment. Dr. Brunner says that you may believe or not, but I have proved on the basis of my experiments that the selfless prayer done by a pure mind makes a deep effect on the atomic and molecular composition of the object. So some saintly person's blessings in the form of prasad or water has the real outburst of energy, and it yields expected result. This is not superstition, but a scientific fact. Whenever a prayer is done on water or eatable object, the energy thrown out of mind in the form of prayer gets condensed on the atoms and molecules of that object. It provides stimulus to the subconscious mind of the person consuming that prasad and gets the desired result. Dr. Baradak has taken the photos of the motion of mind being affected by prayer on highly sensitive photographic plate by means of capturing invisible but most radiant waves. Along with our physical body, our sentimental body is also connected with us. in the form of aura. That body is highly affected by our thoughts. There is a roaring ocean of consciousness around us. The whole world is fully engaged with this consciousness. Scientists coin it as ether. Our thought waves encompass that ether and create their forms, which are known as thought forms. Every thought generates various waves of respective colors from our brain. The speed and longevity of those thought forms depend upon the intensity of thoughts. The shapes of noble thoughts are of good colors and of definite shapes. Very strong devotional sentiment, like a spacecraft going up higher in the sky. The form of fearful anger is like dirty dark pink color and of lightning shape. Love towards someone is of the shape of a bird having light pink color. The selfless love towards all beings is compared to a light pink colored sun. The waves of the thoughts sent out only the forms of thoughts, not the subject concerned. When a Hindu devotee is worshipping the god, the waves of his thoughts influence him or her. If any Muslim, his devotion towards Allah will increase, and if there is a Christian, would come under his influence. That would accelerate the irrepressible love towards Christ. Thus, the provoker of thoughts would prove to be beneficial to the innumerable surrounding people. The deep science of mind is known as parapsychology. Since the last 70 years, Dr. J.B. Ryan has done an extensive research in this subject. The main founders of Theosophical Society, Madame Blavatsky, Charles Leadbeater, and Lady Annie Besant, have trodden a great deal in this field. In Russia as well, much has been done in the subject of parapsychology. In the international conference at Moscow, a lady named Mibilova performed astonishing experiments related to the power of the mind. Because of her concentrated attitude of mind, all the things on the table flew and came into her hands. The steel spoon would bend without touching. The candle would be lighted automatically. Uri Geller has displayed such experiments on TV screen. Nothing is surprising about it. All this is the only outcome of the immense power of the mind. Let us examine a historic illustration. What a man's mental resolution power can do. A yogi named Kumargiri happened to come to the court of the emperor Chandragupta Maurya. He declared, "I can make all of you have the divine darshan, or glimpse of God, whomsoever you devote." With the permission of the king, the yogi created an imaginary world by his power of resolution and got the magnificent form of God seen. by all. Except two persons in the court, everybody had that illusionary vision. The royal dancer, Chitralekha, and the chief secretary, Chanakya Kautilya, could not experience that vision. When the king asked for explanation, the yogi confessed that the illusionary world was created by my resolution power of the mind. The persons with firm mind have no impact of the mental projection of others. That is why Chitralekha and Chanakya, possessing rare personality, had not experienced any impact of the yogi's performance, and they could not fall victim to that false vision of God.